All right, today we're tackling something that can feel, well, super intimidating if you're new to it. That giant stack of legal paperwork you get when you raise a priest equity round. We're going to break down the core documents, piece by piece, and actually make sense of it all.
So let's get right into it. If you're a founder or maybe an early employee, you're probably looking at all this and thinking, why? Why do we need a binder full of legalese? Can't we just sign something simple and get the money?
Well, the thing is, it's so much more than just paperwork. The best way to think about it is this. You're not just taking someone's money. You're starting a long-term partnership. These documents are literally the legal foundation for that entire relationship, setting the rules of the road for years to come.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll quickly touch on what a priced round even is. Then we'll dive straight into the core deal documents, the absolute must-haves. From there, we'll look at the agreements that define ongoing investor rights. And then we'll get into the blueprint for governance and control. And finally, we'll tie it all together and talk about why this stuff really matters.
Okay, let's jump into that first big category, the core deal documents. These two documents are the heart of the whole transaction. They answer the most basic question of all. What is actually being bought and sold here? The first big one you'll see is the Stock Purchase Agreement, or SPA. If the term sheet was the friendly handshake and the agreement in principle, the SPA is the ironclad, legally binding contract. Think of it as the official bill of sale for the entire financing. And it follows a pretty logical flow. It starts by spelling out who's buying, what they're buying, and for how much. Then you get to the reps and warranties, which are basically the company making a whole bunch of legal promises, saying, hey, everything we've told you about our business is true. Covenants are promises about what the company will or won't do before the deal is officially closed. And finally, you have the conditions to closing, the last few checkboxes that need to be ticked before the money is actually wired. So if the SPA is the bill of sale, what exactly is being sold? Well, that's defined by the next document, the amended certificate of incorporation, or what people usually just call the charter. This is like the company's official birth certificate, and when you do a financing, you amend it to officially create the brand new class of preferred stock that the investors are buying.
And this new stock comes with two totally different flavors of rights baked right in. On one side, you have the economic rights, things like liquidation preference, which decides who gets paid first if the company is sold. And on the other side, you've got legal or control rights. These are things like veto power on major decisions. So this one document really defines both the money and the power that come with the new investment.
Okay, so the deal is closed. The money's in the bank. Now what? How are you and your new investors supposed to work together for the next, 5, 10, maybe even more years? That brings us to our next set of documents, the ones that lay out the rules of the relationship. And this is exactly what the Investor Rights Agreement, or IRA, is for. This is the official rulebook for the long-term partnership. It's all about what happens after the deal closes, governing everything from who gets what information to who gets to invest in the future. So what's actually in this agreement? Well, you've got some really key provisions. Information rights mean investors get to see the company's financials. Registration rights are super important for a future IPO. And pro rata rights, these are huge. They give an investor the right to put more money into future funding rounds to keep their ownership percentage from getting diluted. It's all about staying informed and protecting their stake. Okay, but let's throw a curveball in here. The IRA handles the company-investor relationship, but what if a founder, years down the road, gets an offer from some outside buyer for a chunk of their personal shares? This happens all the time. This is where something called the right of first refusal, or ROFR, kicks in. And it's pretty much what it sounds like. Before that founder can sell to an outsider, they first have to offer those same shares on the exact same terms to the company and the other investors. The goal is pretty simple. It lets the insiders control who gets a seat at the table. But wait, there's another right that usually gets triggered right alongside it. It's called co-sale, but everybody just calls it tag-along rights. This right says, hey, Mr. or Ms. Founder, if you're getting a chance to cash out some of your stock, we want to be able to tag along and sell some of ours too. It ensures investors get access to the same liquidity opportunities.
So let's just make this super clear, because they can be confusing. With the right of first refusal, investors get the chance to buy in and increase their ownership. With co-sale rights, they get the chance to sell with the founder and get some of their money out. Two different mechanisms, both designed to keep everyone's interests aligned. And all of this leads to our final, and maybe most important set of documents, the Governance and Control Blueprint. This is where the rubber really meets the road on power dynamics, and we answer that huge question: who's actually in control?
The key document here is the voting agreement. You know, you can talk all you want about who should be on the board of directors, but this document is what makes it legally binding. It's a contract where all the major shareholders agree, ahead of time, exactly how they're going to vote their shares to elect the board. It locks the whole structure in place.
And what you see here is how that plays out in the real world. The voting agreement can literally spell out that, say, the founders get to appoint 2 directors, the lead investor gets to appoint 2, and then everyone has to agree on a 5th independent director. It takes the idea of board control and makes it totally concrete.
Okay, so you've got your board of directors. Now you got to ask who's got their back. That is the job of the indemnification agreement. It's a promise from the company that says if a director or an officer gets sued just for doing their job, the company will step in and cover their legal bills and any potential losses. It's basically insurance for the people running the show. And I want to be really clear about this. This is not some minor perk. It is absolutely essential. You simply cannot attract experienced, high-quality directors to your board if they don't have this protection. This document is a non-negotiable for building a serious leadership team.
Phew! So we have gone through a whole bunch of pretty dense legal documents. So why? Why go through all this trouble? What's the big picture here? Well, it's all about building a foundation for growth. The main thing to remember is that these aren't just separate pieces of paper. They're designed to work together as a single interlocking system. And that system has one goal: to create alignment and clarity between founders and investors so the company has a stable framework to grow on without getting tripped up by confusion or arguments down the line.
You know, there's a quote from the source material that just nails this perfectly. It says, the deal operates within an ecosystem of documents. I love that word, ecosystem, because that's exactly what it is. Each part depends on the others to define the entire framework for the company's future.
So I'll just leave you with this one final thought. After seeing how these documents set the rules for everything from money to power to control, are they really just a formality you have to get through to get the check? Or are they something more? Are they the actual architectural blueprint for what your company is going to become? Something to think about.